the more risk you take, the more margin you should make, the more money you should make. If you're taking less risk, if somebody's going to run traffic for you and do it and be aligned with you on you only make money when they make money, right? That kind of concept, well, then they should get more for that. This is powerful stuff, guys. And I get it. I could dive into this. I love it. Like, numbers tell me everything. I need to see numbers to understand what's going on in the business, right? I can look at numbers and tell you things about what's going on in the business without looking at the ad, without looking at the landing page. I can tell you where the problem is in the flow by looking at that if I just have some data, right? And it's just not the data, right? You need something that you compare it to. Right? A lot of people will look at stats and they'll say, they're looking at it and trying to figure out, is that good or not? Well, how do you know if it's good or not, right? You got to be able to compare it to something, right? If we're getting 18 cents per click here, is that good? Well, I don't know, 14 cents, 10 cents, 13 cents, 10 cents. Yeah, it looks okay. That's pretty good based off of the data that I have on this page. So this offer is the best offer. Or if this is the same offer on this spreadsheet, and these are all different sources for running traffic to my offer, well, then this source has the best traffic. So I want to know what's going on. I want to dive in deeper on why am I getting 18 cents per click when over here I'm getting 7 cents, 2 cents, 2 cents, 9 cents. Like what's going on, right? Are we running the same ad? Same landing page? If everything's the same, well then the only thing that can be different is the source and the type of traffic and who's coming to the page and why they're doing what they're doing, right? It may be that you got to optimize it because the platform that they're coming from is different than this and the people are going to respond differently, right? It could be as simple as an example, people when they're consuming content, some people like to read, right? So you would look at a book or a blog, right? Some people like to listen, right? If you're listening to podcasts, and some people like to watch videos, right? So, if you're selling something, if you can identify how they like to consume content, right? If someone likes to read books, are you going to sell them and send them over to your podcast? Or would you try to sell them a book? You try to sell them a book, right? Because they're telling you that's how they want to consume your content, right? If someone's saying, I love to watch videos, right? I love to listen to books. I don't want to read a book, right? I get tired when I read the book and it's just hard for me holding it. I love to go to Audible, buy a book and listen to it. I can speed it up on how fast it is, can skip around, and I can be doing other things while I'm listening. I could work out, right? I could be doing some busy work, anything. And I love it, right? So if you're going to try to sell me a book versus selling me the Audible version, you'd want to sell me the Audible version. And to me, that's worth way more money, right? I like having books. I like having them on shelves. I like how they look. I'll dive into books from time to time to look at certain things, right? But I don't like to sit and read a book from front to back. It's not my thing, right? I'll listen to it front to back. I probably wouldn't watch a video on it of somebody reading the book to me, right? I mean, there'd have to be more to it, right? Movies, right? It has to be more entertaining for me to watch it, but I like to listen to it, right? So you got to understand that there's a lot of different things that go into why stuff happens, right? But at the end of the day, the value per click all comes down to if somebody clicks to our page, right? Somebody clicks to this page, you're looking at what the conversion rate is. So a click to whatever the action is you need them to take, right? So that is the click rate percentage, right? So here you have your clicks right here. And now what is your click to conversion rate percentage, right? 100 clicks, 10 people take the action you want, fill out your form, take a survey, subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to podcast. So if they get 100 clicks, you get 10 calls to action, CTA. That is a 10% conversion rate, right? Everything's numbers, guys. Everything backs out to numbers. And I don't even love math. I never was a math guy, like in school. Like that wasn't my thing. But I love math in what I do. And the more I live life, the older I get, I recognize that math is just like everywhere. It's like, even like looking at, let's say, God forbid somebody got into an accident, right? Well, at 2 o'clock, if you were at the supermarket and at 3:30, you end up getting into an accident where you're going through a green light and someone runs a red light and smashes your car and you survive, you're okay, everything's okay, it's just scary, right? Well, let's hypothetically say at 2 o'clock, you dropped your wallet and everything splattered everywhere, right? So now you gotta, bend down and pick up all of the change and the money. You're embarrassed. People are helping you, and it's just a disaster. Like you just disaster. You go, you do it, you pick it up. Now it took you about 3 minutes to get everything back together, and now you're back to doing what you're doing to buy. Well, you're not getting to that intersection now till 3:33, right? And if you're getting there at 3:33. You're going to get there and the accident already happened. It's math, right? It's freaky, right? It's just, as silly as, how long does it take to get to Florida? Well, how fast are you driving? How many miles, right? And this is all like school stuff that like I could never appreciate because I didn't understand the value of it, right? But now when I can use it for real life, wow, man, it's exciting, right? It's really cool. You can predict a lot of things, right? We're trying to predict here what we can afford to pay to make it worth our while, right? So if right here, we increased our bid by 3 cents, now we got more clicks, we made $4,700 versus the $3,100, we're paying $900, so we made $38.66. The delta here is this minus that. Let's make sure the math's right. Okay, so we made $981 more. So the projected net margin now is 19%. We're making 19%. So we lost 71% from the 90% in net margin. Now I'm going to ask you this question. What's better? 90% net margin or 19% net margin? Well, obviously 90% net margin is better, but not in this case, right? If you and I are doing the same thing, okay? And let's pretend this is on a daily basis. You're making 90% and I'm making 19% net margin. I'm spending more, I'm making less, right? If that's correct, right? 81%. Yeah, I don't know what numbers those are. So in 81% is still less than 90%, right? So let's go here, 200%, 400%, right? So at 400%, is it making sense? Nah, not really. But we're increasing 150%, we're paying 4 cents per click, we're making 76% net margin versus the 90, which is worse, but we're getting more traffic. And by getting more traffic, we're making more money. We're making $750 more per day, right? So if you looked at it like that, right? Well, if we did it where, 90% net margin, okay? MARGIN. Let's pretend like we're doing that. So we're netting out that times 31. So we make $89,000 a month if that was on a daily basis. Now let's look at it at the 76% net margin, right? We increased how much we are willing to pay per click, which is going to, in effect, get us more clicks at the same value per click, right? So in that scenario, right, we're netting out the 3,600 times the 31, and now we're making $112,000, right? We're making less margin, but more money. And at the end of the line, that's why I call it the bottom line, right? The bottom line is we're making more money by working on less margins, right? And that's it. As simple as that. You got to understand that. That's the mistake that people make. They stop. So in this scenario, we can increase our traffic to try to get more traffic, right? And play around with these numbers. If we're up 150, we can increase by 50%, right? What happens if we now go up to 400%? Let's say, 600%, like we said earlier, right? We're negative. We're losing money, like we said. But this time, now we get a 250% increase in revenue, in traffic, right? A 400% increase in volume, right? Maybe a 600% increase in volume, right? So what is happening here? Well, on 600% increase in margin, we're paying 11 cents, right? Almost 12 cents per click, but we're making we're getting 127,000 clicks. It jumped up from 18,000 clicks of what we were getting here to 127,000. Now we're generating $22,000 in revenue. Our spend is 15 grand, but we're now making $7,200, right? We're making $4,300 more. We're scaling our business, right? So right here, we're working at 33% net margin, which is, it's fair, right? Like that's normal, right? Obviously, you're going to have other costs, so you might want to work at a little higher margin because you have all your operating costs and all the things that are going on, your COGS, costs of goods sold, right? And we don't have to get into that right now, right? But the difference here is we're now losing 58% of the margin, right? So we're making 33% instead of 90%. But look at the difference here, guys, right? Now, on 33% net margin, which is here, we are making $225,000 a month versus 89. It's huge. It's a game changer, right? If you multiply that times 12 months, right? Times 12. Right here, we have $1 million business. And here, we have a $2.7 million business. That's, guys, a massive difference. Doing the same thing. And the only difference here is we increased what we were willing to pay to get more traffic. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? You didn't have to change anything. You didn't have to change your ad. You did not have to change your landing pages. You changed nothing on the back end. You didn't have to optimize a thing. But you recognize that you're working with a big amount of margin. You've identified that where you're buying the traffic, there's a lot more potential, right? And while the margins are great, you're so willing to work on lower margins if you can get more traffic. The more traffic you get, the bottom line grows if everything remains the same, right? And that changes everything. So all we really did here was we increased the percentage that we're willing to pay on getting a click, right? 1,000, now we're paying 18 cents, right? So now what has to happen, right? Now we're paying 18 cents a click. Does that make sense? Nope. Right? Why? That's really important, right? Let's see what happens if we get 1,000%. Let's say if we get 5,000%. Let's say we got 10,000%. How come it's not changing? Guys, why is this going up? What's going on? Hey, now we're getting, 50,000%. It's way too big, right? And we're losing more and more money every time I do that. Why? Guys, remember, there's two things we got to worry about. What are we making on here? What are we making on our revenue per impression? And what are we paying to get that impression? Cost per impression. What are we making on the revenue per impression, right? What are we paying on a click? And what are we making on that click over here, right? What are we making on that click, right? This is the click. These are the impressions, the eyeballs when people land there, right? They equate to the same thing. It's just a question of how you model out your business. Well, let's go and look, right? The reason why this is negative is, look, the new cost per pub click is now 0.1855, right? Remember, what are we making on a gross revenue per impression? What are we making on the revenue per click? 18 cents. I don't care how much more traffic you get. If you're making 18 cents and you're paying 18.5 cents to get it, you're going to lose all day long because nothing's changing. All that is changing is you're increasing the amount of traffic to a loser, right? In this scenario, what would you need to do? Well, the simple thing is obviously you got to scale it back, right? You can't pay that much, right? You can't pay 18 cents if you're making 18 cents, right? You could pay anything under that, right? 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, whatever, right? As long as you're paying less than 18 cents, you'll make some money, right? Obviously, you want to spend the least amount of money to get the most amount of traffic, right? You want to scale it, but yield the highest amount of margin you possibly can get, okay? Really, really important, guys. Really important. Well, we're not going over this today, and I'm not going to go into all the data that goes into this, but what would need to happen if we want to pay 18 cents a click is we're going to need to figure out how to increase our revenue per click, our revenue per impression. Well, how do you do that, right? You know, at the end of the day, you got to figure out how to make more money on the back end. If you guys ever see, right, like, I'll show you something that people miss. This is why data is so important on the back end, right? So let's say that you do that. Let's say this is on that visit. So the ad on the click, so your revenue per click is 18 cents. Let's say your cost per click. Now let's increase this traffic to 1,250, right? So now we're paying 22 cents. So now the cost is 22.77, right? So right now we're losing negative. We're losers here. This business is done. Oh, we're going home. We're not making any money. Loser. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. This is another thing that people make a big mistake on, okay? So let me show you. Maybe you've seen this in the market before when people show you. Let's use this red, right? You ever see, they'll use an example where, okay, let's say you're on a boat and you see, let's say this is an iceberg. Oh, terrible. I'm a terrible artist. I don't even know how to write iceberg, I-C-E-B-E-R-G. Who knows? From above the water, right, you see this tip of the iceberg is right there, right? Well, here on the back end is a gigantic, huge rock, right? There's a huge thing like ice, just huge, huge. But you don't see it, you just see the little tip, right? That's the concept of if you're making now 18 cents on that first visit, right? So if you look at it as a funnel, let's upside down that, right? Let's say first visit, second visit, third visit, fourth. Okay? Well, in this scenario, what I'm showing you here is you driving traffic somewhere and you're trying to, they call this like the slow, the self-liquidating offer. You're trying to break even, right? Because if you could break even, you have back-end things going on where you're generating revenue, right? That's the business. That's the concept. You don't have to always be profitable on the front end, right? The front end, right? So here's a funnel, whatever that is. That's funnel one. Let's say it's a survey funnel and you lost money, right? So here you made the 18 cents. Now you paid, no, revenue per click. You paid 22 cents CPC. So now you're negative 4 cents on that trip, right? But you got the person into your database now, right? Now, let's say you send them emails, right? Day 1, day 2, day 3. You're nurturing this person. You're talking to them. You're just introducing them to things. You're giving them value. Okay? Well, even so, let's say you make $0 here. Here you make 2 cents. Here you make 2 cents. Here you make a penny. And on day 5, you decide that you're going to go and give them a higher offer. The people that are buyers here, you're going to now try to ascend them up the ladder, right? So on day 5 to that list, maybe you make $5, right? If you add that up, you paid 22 cents to get there, but your 18 cents, you have to attribute this revenue, right? That's another mistake people make, and they lose a lot of business because of it, because they think that they have a losing business. When if they do it the right way, this is a home run business, right? You're making $5 here and a penny, 2 pennies, $5.05 plus your 18 cents, right? So what is that? $5.23, right? Total value that you're making on somebody, minus your 22 cents, the cost. So you're making $5 and a penny per person in your entire list, right? Someone might spend 50 grand, another person may spend, 15 cents, but we're just averaging it out, right? So it's all based on now volume, because you're backing it out to everybody. You're doing an average. Yes, you optimize, you do all those things, but I'm just making it super simple for you. Bottom line is, that's a killer business. And you're making money in the back end. So there's a lot of different things that are going on here, guys. And I'm painting this picture for you. It's beautiful. I mean, there's so much value here of what we're talking about. I think you got to watch this like 1,000 times. Like, slowly watch this and follow along, take notes. This is it. This is all the stuff. It's so fun. I could geek out. I could sit here and talk to you for another 5 hours about so much stuff. There's so much stuff here. But, sometimes you just got to simplify stuff. And the simplest way to do it is by looking at these 2 metrics. What are you making on a revenue per click? And what did it cost you to get that click? Or what are you making when someone lands on your front page? Revenue per impression. What did it cost you to get that impression? Or, right, just going down that theme, if you're generating leads, what are you making on a revenue per lead? And what does it cost you to get that lead? RPL, revenue per lead. CPL, cost per lead. It's all relatively the same thing, a little bit of a different dynamic, right? And how you're backing it out. But the beauty is you're looking at your business in a way where you can now reverse engineer things and buy traffic, right? I can make money by selling leads, but I can buy traffic on a CPC, right? Now, how does that work? You got to figure that out, right? You got to figure out the numbers of what can you afford per click to generate a lead, and what's that lead worth to you? And if you do that, you're taking a risk, right? You're out there and you're buying, let's say you're competing with 10 other companies and they're all buying leads exactly like you are. Well, they always say, whoever can afford the most to buy media will get that traffic, right? And that's true. But in some cases, there are other reasons why someone might run your offer instead of somebody else's if you're making the conversion to get paid easier. Some people just want to get paid on a click. Some people want to get paid on sending on a CPM, cost per thousand. So when they send to 1 million people, if they charge you $5 a thousand, right, that means you are spending $5,000. Now, doesn't matter how many people click, doesn't matter how many people filled their form. For them, they got paid $5,000, and they're happy with that, right? And if you were testing that, you'd have to figure out, can I afford that? You'd have to back it out to see, can I afford to pay $5,000? And you'd run these numbers, all these numbers to kind of figure it out. But the thing is that let's hypothetically say, when you're doing that, you need to figure out what is your revenue per thousand. If you're going to pay $5 a thousand, you need to figure out what is your revenue per thousand, right? Even if I'm out there and I'm buying leads for $10 a lead, right? If somebody wants to charge me on a CPM, I need to back out that $10 per lead to figure out what am I making on a revenue per thousand to be able to figure out if I can afford that or if I'm willing to test that, right? If you do that, most people don't do that, right? So when you're arbitraging media, it's such an advantage to understand this stuff, guys, because now it seems like you're taking risk, but it's a calculated risk. You are taking risk, and that's why you should make more margin, right? I'll say, the more risk you take, the more margin you should make, the more money you should make, right? If you're taking less risk, if somebody's going to run traffic for you and do it and be aligned with you on you only make money when they make money, right? That kind of concept, well, then they should get more for that. Whatever they need to make, you should make sure they're making it. But if somebody's like, I'm not running your offer unless you pay me on a CPM, right? Well, what happens if you're paying $5 a thousand and that $10 lead backs out to $100 a thousand? So you can afford to pay $50 a thousand, $75 a thousand. Well, you're going to keep $95 a thousand. That you made $95 a thousand. That person wanted $5 a thousand. That's what they wanted. They're happy with it. Great. Now, why would you pay them more? To get more traffic. If they have more traffic, then perhaps you would increase the price, right? If they have that traffic and you want to outspend your competition, you might be like, hey, listen, if you got me 1 million emails to send, if you can get me 20 million emails to send over the month, I'd be willing to pay you $7 a thousand. The person's like, well, I'm making $5 a thousand, so I'm increasing to $2 more on that 20 million. No brainer, right? If they're currently selling it at $5 a thousand, right, 20 times at $5,000, they're making $100,000 a month. Now they're increasing it by an extra 40. So now they're making $140,000 a month from us, right? We're paying $7. Now we need to make sure that quality stays the same. When you increase volume, that's really important. Sometimes what happens when you increase some volume, it's ultimately, you got to, think about it. Impressions, traffic, those are people, right? Those are real people taking actions. That conversion rate needs to stay the same. That revenue per impression needs to stay the same. That revenue per lead needs to stay the same. If it changes, you need to calculate that to see, are you profitable? Are you still profitable? It could change. It probably is going to change, right? But if you're, at the end of the day, bottom line, making more money, then you don't care. You don't care if your revenue per lead goes down. You don't care if your net margin goes down, right? Or your revenue per impression goes down. You don't care, because bottom line is you're making more money. So guys, that's it. I mean, gold right there. I hope you guys, stayed for the end here through this video. If you did, you've got a tremendous amount of information that you can now use for your business. Listen, subscribe, please. It helps. Share this thing with anybody you think could need it. Subscribe to my text community, 917-636-1998. Ask me any questions you want. Comment. Ask me questions. I'm happy to help you. I'd love to help you. And look out, man. I just finished a chapter. A book's coming out. The launch is April 9th. Million Dollar Identity. I'm with a bunch of awesome other authors. I talk about media arbitrage. I talk about survey funnels and Survey Detective and all that good jazz. And that's also like putting like a kick in my butt to like do so much more stuff that I'm pretty excited about. I haven't announced it yet, but it's pretty close to writing my own solo book all around, survey secrets and how to use surveys to generate leads and increase your profit margins and make more money and be more relevant and kick butt on the internet. And that should coincide with launch of our Survey Detective software. So a lot of cool stuff up ahead. Really excited about it. So stick around, keep your ears open. We're going to be doing some coaching and training. So if that's exciting to you and you want to be hanging around with me more and in my community, subscribe to everything because it's going to be announced and hopefully you guys can be there. My goal is just to obsess over you, obsess over the customer. I'm taking a page out of Jeff Bezos' book. That is my goal. I just want to obsess over the customer. Yeah, my technology needs to work. Yeah, my strategies need to work, right? But how I want to be differentiated from everybody else is that the people that are in my community know that I care. And everybody in the community cares for one another. And we're all helping each other. And if that doesn't align with what I'm doing, then you don't belong in that community. Entrepreneurship is lonely, right? We're all alone. We're on our own. We have our own companies. But it doesn't have to be, right? You just have to find places where you're with other entrepreneurs that are similar to you doing similar things. And we all want to help each other, right? We all want to help each other to get our messages out into the world so that we can help people that need our help. And we can make an impact on their lives. And in return, you're going to grow your business. And we're going to start to build legacies. And it's going to be a beautiful thing. It's already happening. And let's just keep the momentum going. So with that said, guys, I appreciate all of you. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all safe out there with what's going on in this world. And until next time, be blessed. Talk to you soon. All right. I'm out. Later.